Well, the Asian, you can't talk with him. They'd be dominating every math and science department there is.
When you talk about minority scholarships, no one ever includes Asian people.
Oh, you know what? Could you sit down for a second?
Sure.
Token black eye. I'm joking. What's your name, man? Sean. All right, Sean. So Sean, I find this. Do you agree with what was just stated there as a black male?
No.
Okay, you didn't even have to think about it. With what part do you disagree?
Well, first off, the statistics about like black crime and police brutality overly affecting black males. I mean, we have to look at crime statistics. So yes, black males are overrepresented in prisons, but black males are also overrepresented in crime statistics. So black males are like 6% of the 6 or 7% of the population.
Right.
6% of the population, because black females are 7% of the population.
I think it's total. It's somewhere around 13.
Yeah, total is 13.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, if you take all that into account, then you have to consider, okay, so why are they overrepresented in crime? And the reason why, I mean, in my opinion, a lot of it is economic, a lot of it is cultural, a lot of it is the opportunities available in their areas, and people can make the argument that it's because of white oppression. I don't necessarily think it's because.
I don't agree with that stance. I don't agree with it's the opportunities presented in an area. I don't agree with that, and here is why I say I don't agree with that. It's opportunities presented in an area, because if you look at and yes, I don't care if people say culture is represented in the media. If you look at movies, if you look at TV shows, it represents a specific culture. If you look at any black movie or any black TV show where they have people who do crimes such as drug dealing or anything of that sort. Let me ask you a question. What percent, or let me ask you if you ever seen this. Have you ever seen a black drug dealer on a show who says, I'm selling drugs to send my little brother to college? Or I'm selling drugs to pay for this new private school tuition? Have you ever even seen anything along the lines of it? No? Or have you ever seen them say, have you ever seen them wear the bust down chains or the bust down watches or the new shoes, driving the best cars? That's really what you see. Even if you look at a lot of rappers who've been caught doing crime, you never hear them say, I was doing this to send my brother or send my kid to school. I was trying to save it for a college tuition. I was trying to put my invest in some real estate. They never say that. They always do it to flex. Always. So that's culture. I just want to touch on that. It's always to flex. Always to flex.
Because of white oppression, I think it has a lot to do with the welfare state. I think it has a lot to do with democratic policies and liberal policies, pushing agendas upon black people instead of giving them agency and allowing them to make their own decisions.
She left. I was hoping that she would actually hear what you have to say here. Let me ask you, do you attend TCU?
I do.
How did you get in?
I spent 9 years in the Air Force and got a scholarship, 4-hour scholarship.
Thank you for your service. Appreciate it. And what are you studying?
Psychology and philosophy. So I'm actually on the
psychology on the liberal arts side. Yeah. Well, listen, if you make less than a civil engineer, don't blame it on a white-black thing. You chose a degree that's kind of rough.
I just want to enjoy my career, whatever it is.
There you go. Well, listen, that sounds like something that would be, especially after 8 years in the Air Force.
9 years.
9 years. Yeah. Jeez. Sorry, look, someone's like 9. Yeah. Get it right. So you were in the Air Force. This is what got your scholarship. Do you believe that your path was more difficult to TCU exclusively because of your race?
No, I don't think it's because of my race. I think it's because, I was raised by a single mother. My dad left when I was really young.
Sorry.
My mom had to work really hard to, just get me through school. I made really poor decisions early on in life, and the military was really the only way I could go. And honestly, I learned a lot in the military. I got a lot of, I learned responsibility. I learned taking responsibility for my own actions, and I learned agency and taking pride in myself. And
yeah.
Hard. Yeah.
How do you feel about? I'm not totally aware of the scholarship specifically to TCU, but I think everyone is well aware of, and we can agree that there are scholarships obviously afforded exclusively to minorities or women not afforded to, say, the white male. Yeah. How do you feel about that as a black man? Do you think that helps?
No. Actually, we were just talking about this. Well,
the Asian, you can't talk with him. They'd be dominating every math and science department there is.
So I just came from.
It's always crazy when you talk about minority scholarships. No one ever includes Asian people. It is so weird to me because Asian people are literally a minority in America. They are definitely a minority. And it's even weirder to me that Latino Americans are included, but Asian Americans are not included. Because, and I might be wrong. If I'm wrong, correct me. I believe Asian Americans Asian Americans are less common than Latino Americans. So when you have minority scholarships, why aren't they represented in that? That's a good question. I don't know.
From the Bay Area.
Got to build a wall around their neighborhood just so we can keep some people getting degrees, for crying out loud.
It's that Asian privilege.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I just came from the Bay Area and Silicon Valley, and I mean, you see there, like, Asian prosperity is huge.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they're doing really well, and like, good on them. And I think, like, honestly, if the black culture adopted a lot of those tenets of like Asian culture and like, hey, suck it up, like, go out there and get it and do it yourself. And like, it was interesting, like, a lot of rappers supported Trump, and they said the reason why is because they said, you know, that's what Trump is about. He's like, go out there and get it, make your money, do what you have to do to make your money.
Right.
And I think, like, that's, you know, people talk about that, but they don't really go out and do it. And like, there's not a lot of talk about different ways and diversifying your means of income.
Yeah.
There are a lot of opportunities out there if you just go out there and look for them and get it. And honestly, like, people are willing to give black people opportunities, you know.
Well, I'm sure, here's the deal. I understand that there are racists out there.
Oh, yeah,
and I think it's kind of like a child who just misbehaves so often, you have to discipline them. You kind of see this with the left. Like, if a child behaves well, okay, you don't have to correct them all the time. But when the left constantly just divides by race and by gender, then you have to bounce back and say, well, hold on a second, no, that's actually inaccurate. The truth is, it kind of bars us, it robs us of our ability to be empathetic to someone saying, yeah, you know what, I'm sure you get some tough breaks as a black guy, because we're constantly being told you can't understand and you've gotten everything because you're a white guy. I think it actually burns more bridges than it builds.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly.
Yeah. I mean, what do you think Asians think when they're saying you're too much? They're actually that, you know, they only allot a certain amount of Asians in certain programs. I'm sure you're aware of this.
I punished 3 to 5 ACT points, you know, 0.5 GPA going into college. Like, I applied to USC. Me and my friend, and he's African American, I'm white. I'm Asian. Basically had the same exact demographics.
You forgot?
White American. And I had a 32 and a 4.5, and he had a 27 and like a 3.8. He got it, and I didn't get in. And we had basically the exact same everything else, just because he was African American, I was Asian, and I got penalized because of my privilege, because I was overrepresented academic scholarship.
And that's what I'm saying. And I hate when people do this, because I'm all about objectivity. I'm all about fairness. That is racism. If it was happening to a black student, a white student, I would say the same thing. It's racist when you have a standard for one race and you do not have the same standard for another race. It is racist. It is racist. It is racist. It is racist that you hold Asian Americans to a higher standard when it comes to getting into colleges over African Americans. I do not care that Asian Americans typically do better in school. They do better in school because that's their cultural thing. That's what it is. It's unfair that you punish them for that. It is racist that you punish them for that, and it's not right. And I'm obviously black saying this. If an Asian American or if an Asian person gets a higher SAT than me, they get a higher ACT than me, they work harder in school than me, they deserve the opportunity over me. And I would suffer for it. So I might suffer for it. They still deserve it because if the roles were reversed, I would want that same benefit.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Actually, here, if you want to come up, no, you can stay here. Both. Let's get like a buddy cop film. Sorry. What was your name, sir? David. Sorry, my hands are freezing. Hold on, my lips aren't blue. You know, it's funny that you mentioned that about your ACT scores and how your friend who was African American got in and you didn't. This is one thing that I've always, and I'm glad we finally, we can bridge this racial divide. It's like the black and white cookie, Seinfeld. When you think about that, right, they start locking Asians out because you guys do very, very well academically. Yeah. What do you think that does to the relationship between Asian Americans and black Americans? That's always a concern of mine. I mean, the same thing with white Americans, but particularly, listen, I grew up in Canada, and I'm not gonna lie, a lot of Asians behind closed doors, little bit racist in Canada. I'm sure there's some of that here too. It seems like it would strain relationships, not really bring people together.
Yeah, I know that because the Asian culture is very academics first, like academics advocates, like with the whole shaming your family kind of like concept you see with like white culture,
right?
Like white media, like they talk about why you not doctor yet, that comes kind of like yeah. Which is actually can be very true. So and I know the African American, especially in the inner cities, like academic excellence achievement is very shunned upon, especially with like the gangs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That creates a big divide, especially on like the income, like ethnic, like for Chicago, like the top four ethnic groups in America, like the top earners are all Asian, Indians, like Japanese, Thai.
Yeah.
And the bottom tiers are African Americans and Hispanics. And I think it's just it's not because of the systematic racism in America. I think it's all culture. Well, like that, he said like his dad left. I'm really sorry about that. But like the African American single motherhood rate during the civil rights movement was what, like 13-15% depending on the city, whereas now it's upwards of 70-80% of the inner cities, and that's not because of racism from white people. That's because of the shifts in culture in the inner cities.
Let me ask you, do you agree with what he's saying there?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it has to do with the soft bigotry of low expectations. When you tell people that, you know, oh, well, you can't do anything in life because you have this overlord above you, oppressing you, then like, what is your, you know, you're not gonna have any optimism. You're not gonna have any aspirations to achieve anything in life,
right?
Because you're like, what's the point? And I think that's told more to black males than it is black females, because there's a statistic that just came out that black females are actually the most educated minority group per capita in the United States.
I did read that, yeah.
Which is like insane. You know, you think about it, it's like, well, how are they oppressed if they're, you know, having, you know.
Unfortunately, that statistic, if you dig into it, includes a lot of the gender studies and that kind of stuff in there.
One thing he said that I really like is the soft bigotry of low expectations. That sounded poetic. If you have any suggestions, comment down below. LFR Jojo.